Bills make me wanna shout. Kick your heels up and shout. Throw your hands up and shout. Throw your hands.
All right, time to talk all things Buffalo Bills. We do it every Thursday. Today's Bills broadcast, Inside the Bills, brought to you by our friends at Box Drop Syracuse, the mattress and sofa outlet. We'll hear a little bit more from our friends at Box Drop in just a little bit. It's the Manchild Lerch along with Paul Boy Green Esden Jr., and we always bring him in, our Bills insider from Cover One. Let's welcome in the one, the only Anthony Prohaska. Good morning, Anthony. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good to be talking Bills football. I see your walls are not quite decorated yet, but we understand that you were a little under the weather this week. So we understand. Take the construction slow. We kind of love to see the studio kind of coming along.
Yeah.
Boy Green was telling me, he's noticing that I'm adding some things in the studio. Like, bring me back full screen here for a sec, Boy Green. All right. See that sign over there? Right there.
Notre Dame.
I added the old Notre Dame sign.
Notre Dame.
Yeah, I'm not. I used to love him when I was a kid. I don't love him as much, but that is an iconic sign. So I still.
Oh, absolutely. You gotta. Now the big question is: do you tap it every time?
That's what I was just going to ask. Do you tap it?
I leave the room now. I do.
Give it a slap.
Okay. You really filled that out.
Just do another good pod. Bing.
Nice,
Let's do it, baby. Let's do it.
Yeah, my background is a bit of blank space.
All right. Well, look, you've had the look at his blank space right there. All right.
An empty space, if you will.
Empty space, blank space, who knows? Those words are almost meaningless in society today.
But Anthony, why don't you, because you've explained it, we've done a million interviews together, but you may have explained this in the past. Give us the tale on the Christmas tree there.
Oh, so yeah, when my wife and I have been together, it'll be 13 years. Wow. We've been married for 5, but we've been together for 13. When we first moved in, thank you. When we first moved in together, we did the whole Christmas tree aspect, and I forget when we moved in together in 2014, I think, if I remember correctly. And I went on a pitch of trying to leave the Christmas tree up all year round. And my thought was, we can leave it up all year round. And each month we can just decorate it based on whatever holiday exists for that month. So in, March, everything will be green. We'll put shamrocks on it. It's a St. Patrick's Day tree. And in February, we'll do the same thing. It's a Valentine's Day tree. In April, we'll do it with pastels and egg ornaments. It's an Easter tree, and we'll just do that every month. Mm-hmm. I fought that good fight, got it down to being able to leave the tree up through most of February. Mm-hmm. Still Christmas decorated, but then it'll come down in March. Her compromise was to buy me this little tree and keep it in the office. And then I decorate the little tree every month with whatever theme and garland and ornaments of whatever holiday it is. So we're in October, so it's all Halloweened up. In November, I'll change it and make it more fall themed and Thanksgiving themed. And then once we hit December, it's full Christmas. And I keep it up. It's funny when I do my shows and I get new people who watch my shows, and I get someone in the comments being like, what's with the tree? And then I get all the regular viewers who are like, it's a whole thing. Or they'll be like, look at the new guy. And just blast him with
that's cool. That's kind of cool. You create these traditions, and then when new people go in and they don't know what the heck's going on, they get blasted by the community. That's kind of cool. So,
although it is good to know how compromise works in a relationship, Anthony, that you say, hey, this Christmas tree is going to be up all damn year. And then it's February, and you're like, damn it, we're going to switch it by season. And she's like, yeah, you're going to have a little tree. It's going to be in your office in your own space.
I mean, I also recognize, that's a big ask. Like, having a Christmas tree up all year round is that's not a common thing. And in the common space like that, I fully got the notion of, I didn't expect to win it. But the fact that she even entertained it, I was like, we might, I thought we had a 0 chance. I was like, we got a non-zero chance here? Okay, let's try and pitch this a little harder. So I'm surprised it even lasted a bit, because if you could find me people that leave their tree up all year round, I would be shocked, because I don't know if anybody really does it, but I tried. I think I got pretty far too.
Okay, there you go. I would have said, Anthony, have a stronger backbone, but you know what? You came into, it's good to have realistic expectations heading into certain arguments and things of that nature. Oh, look, we got Mookie.
Mookie in his pajamas this morning.
Wow.
Look at this. I don't know if you can see them. Cookies and milk on the pajamas. Look at these beautiful soft.
How do you feel about that, Anthony? Pets in clothes.
I don't really have a feeling one way or the other on it.
You went a little higher register, so it sort of sounds like you have a feeling, but you don't want to share it.
No, I went high register because I've never thought about it before.
Oh, okay. There you go.
He does not like to miss a pod, and now he knows how to push the door open, and he can do it even when the door is like fully closed. He is able to like push through the lock. It's incredible.
Oh, that's great. You have a locksmith dog just in case your keys get locked in the car or something. Just kind of get the little paw in there and get it in. Nice.
Yeah, I was more taken back when I heard the name Mookie. I'm still, as a Red Sox fan, I'm still sore with Mookie Betts, and I will be for forever. So I heard Mookie, and I was just like, oh.
Yeah, I don't think that's the Mookie, but
no, I know it's not.
But also, as a Red Sox guy, I agree.
Just think of Mookie Wilson. It's perfect.
Well, that's who he's named after. That's who I believe he's named after Mookie. I think no, maybe not.
Well, it was Mookie got named by a listener of our radio show many years ago when I got him, and we did a contest on air to help name the dog. Yeah. And someone came up with Mookie, and they came up with it was kind of two reasons, but it was actually primarily not Mookie Wilson. There was a guy on the Syracuse basketball team named Mookie Jones. He didn't play a lot, but he was like a fan favorite, and they always wanted him to play more, so they would
great name too.
Mookie. Like
I was thinking either that or Mookie Blaylock. That's the Mookie that Mookie Betts is named after. So I was thinking I was either only thinking Wilson or Blaylock. Yeah, that's fair.
Well, there you go. So that's the history.
All right, Anthony. Well, again, coming out of the bye week, you know what? You may not be as refreshed being so sick and your entire family is down for the count, but for the Buffalo Bills, they should be more refreshed physically, mentally. They just had a couple of losses. They've had some injuries, obviously. So did they benefit from a week away from football?
Yeah, I think they did. I think, from a mental standpoint, they were not pleased with how they went into the bye, not even really with the bye, but just losing 2 in a row in the underwhelming fashion that they lost. And their play on the field, like just not ideal game plans, even worse execution of those game plans. So just really a total, I don't want to say total failure, but just across the board, staff wise, player wise, not up to their standard in any way, shape, or form. And then I think from a health standpoint, I think they are starting to get refreshed a little bit as well. You get Michael Hoyt back from suspension, Larry Ogunjobi back from suspension. Ed Oliver returned in that game against Atlanta before the bye. He gets the bye week to kind of recuperate after that first game back. Max Hairston has been activated. His window is opened up. He's starting to practice a bit. We'll see what that looks like. And then you've got some other guys that are more like week to week or muddy, Daquan Jones, who popped his calf in warmups of that Falcons game. Josh Palmer, who got injured in that game. You've got Kincaid still working back, questions on Terrell Bernard and Milano and all these guys. So it really will be, I think, a wait and see aspect as we go forward, especially knowing that Kansas City is on the horizon next week, not overlooking Carolina in any way, shape, or form, especially with my superstition. No jinx, fingers crossed. Not overlooking Carolina, but I do wonder how much, I don't want to say gamesmanship, but gamesmanship is involved in being like, let's keep ramping these guys up. They could go this week, but knowing what we have in 2 weeks, let's kind of prep for that.
Yeah, and that game could turn out to be an important game because, as we know, look at the standings right now, Anthony, and wow, the New England Patriots have arrived perhaps a little bit ahead of schedule. They also have one of the easiest schedules on the back end of this NFL season, so they won't be tried all that much if they continue to play at this level. So certainly, in a lot of ways, the division might be up for grabs a little bit more than it was, say, a couple of weeks ago. Give me your thoughts on that, and how concerned should Buffalo Bills fans be about the division at this point?
I think it's fair to really be concerned, especially because of the ease of the Patriots schedule going forward. I think the Patriots are a good team. I thought they would be second in the AFC East this year. I thought they would push for a wild card spot or potentially lock one down. And then you have Drake May. I mean, Drake May is second in EPA per dropback. He's also first in completion percentage over expected. He's also first in overall passing EPA. A lot of those stats, he's really close with Daniel Jones, Giants legend, who seems to be tearing it up with the Colts. But I think it's fair, knowing what New England has on the docket. Their biggest tests are really, Atlanta and Tampa. Granted, Baltimore should probably be healthier when they play them later in the year, and they do have to meet Buffalo again, so we'll see what happens. But I think my bigger conversation with it is, and I know the Patriots maybe kind of came out of nowhere for folks, but it's funny to see nationally. It's like, oh, the Patriots, look at them 5-2, this and that. And nobody wants to drag them for the crap teams that they played, but everybody wanted to drag the Bills for the teams that the Bills played. Now, I also understand that the Bills, the two best teams the Bills have played in theory, they've lost to. So I guess it's a little different. And the Pats did beat the Bills. But I do think there is some kind of validity to how good can the Patriots really be? Are they, run the table, potentially win the AFC East good, or are they more wild card good? Either way, this season is showing what they're capable of under Vrabel, and I only expect them to get better going forward, which is not ideal for the Bills or for the Jets.
Thank you for bringing that one up. That felt unnecessary, especially
With
the
this
graphic on the screen.
division. Man,
Yeah, I mean, right. Miami and the Jets have both imploded. Miami's only win
Yeah,
as well.
but we don't have a Miami person on the show. I'm a Bills guy. You're a Jets guy.
That's true. Yeah, to fully represent it. So, Anthony, with some of the flavor of what you said, I just want to unpack it a little bit more. Do you think the New England Patriots are overrated?
I think it depends on who you ask, but no, I think they're
I'm
a good
asking
team.
you. Do you think they're overrated?
For me and what I think they are, no. I think, I could have seen them I think they could easily be 4-3 at this point. Honestly, you could make the opposite case. They threw up all over themselves against Pittsburgh. They should have won that Pittsburgh game. They realistically could be sitting here at 6-1 instead of 5-2. Granted, you could take back and be like, yeah, but Pittsburgh's not good, yada, yada. So, but regardless.
Right. The other loss is the Raiders.
I know in week one, which is kind of interesting now. You feel like they'll want that one back. But that Pittsburgh one, really multiple red zone turnovers, including a couple like in the low red zone. They set Pittsburgh up for success there and set themselves up for failure. I do think they're a good team. I will be very interested to see what they do down the stretch. I think, those back-to-back games with Atlanta and Tampa, I think will be pretty interesting. And then going down on the stretch, they get that week 14 bye, and then it's the Bills, the Ravens, the Jets, the Dolphins, the Giants before that, who I know what the Giants record is, but I think they're a little better than that potentially, and they could make some noise. But no, I think for me, I think they're right in line. I thought they'd be 4-3 or 5-2 at this point, and they're sitting here at 5-2.
Trade deadline approaching, Anthony. We continue to talk about it until it's here and done. You mentioned the Bills are getting healthy, but every team could use a little boost here or there. Is there someone out there? Is there something that the Bills could be kind of looking at here in the weeds that might really be some kind of impact at the trade deadline?
I think if it's anything, it's probably a receiver. Corner, I think, is a little murky. I know a lot of fans want a corner, but you do have Hairston returning. And I think the bigger issue is if you get a corner, it really has to be a true rental because Hairston's going to be your guy of the future next year. So it's either got to be a guy who can be, it's just hard. Like it has to be either a guy who can be a number 2 now, but is more comfortable being a 3 going forward behind Hairston and Benford. What does his contract situation look like? Can they afford him now? Can they afford to pay a guy like that who's really a corner 2, but then will be a corner 3 or vice versa? Like corners just got a lot of muddiness and murkiness to unpack there. Safety, all the good safeties are locked up and teams are trading those type of dudes. So I don't think that's a spot. I really do think it'll come down to wide receiver. And I really do think it's 2 names that a lot of Bills fans have talked about. You're looking at the Saints, and I think either Chris Olave or Rashid Shaheed, either one of those guys being able to inject a little juice and life into that receiving room. I think Olave is more of the high ceiling type of play. I still think Chris Olave can be a high end wide receiver 2, maybe even low end wide receiver 1 in this league. He's just had unfortunate injuries and unfortunate QB play and everything going down there in New Orleans. I do think Shaheed is more than just a slot guy and just a speed guy, but I would welcome him with open arms into this Bills team with, his pace and his feet and what he's able to do from a precision standpoint and juice standpoint. I think receiver is the most likely just because you can get more of a flyer or a rotational guy added more so than you can at the other positions, given where they stand now.
Anthony, we went in when Sean McDermott had some very curious Maxwell Hairston comments, a bunch of weeks ago. We're like, what does this mean? Did he slip up? What does all that mean? Well, it looks like a positive update for Maxwell Hairston.
Yeah. He got activated. What day are we at now? Thursday. He got activated Tuesday, I believe, which is good for him. Started practicing, got a bit of a brace on. I don't know what the ramp-up period is going to be like. I doubt he plays against Carolina. Maybe he plays against Kansas City, but you saw him kind of starting to get some work in the past couple of weeks, and you could tell there was some tenderness in his movements and, how he was adjusting to the brace and pushing off and planting, which again is to be expected. And you have to be careful with him. Like his whole game is predicated on juice and speed and explosion. And anytime you damage any ligaments in your knee, for anybody, that's a problem, but especially for somebody who's predicated on juice and explosion and burst and everything like that, like Hairston is. So I think they're going to, be patient with him, kind of work him in bit by bit. But it's encouraging to see him getting reps, and he needs them. I mean, he didn't even really get a full training camp, and he got no preseason time. So there's a lot for him to work back from. Even if he's 100% healthy, he still has to learn how to play in the NFL. So it's very much an uphill battle for him from a mental standpoint. So hopefully he's as clean as possible from a physical one.
The Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital at MC Show Digital. By the way, pop the subscribe button right now. Become part of our growing community. It's brought to you today. Excuse me.
I know, it gets you emotional, Lurch.
I guess Anthony was giving me a little there.
I was going to say it's my fault. That's me. That's coming through.
I'm perfectly healthy for the moment. Knock on wood.
For the moment.
Today's broadcast brought to you by our friends at Box Drop Syracuse. Let's sit back, relax, take a break here for a moment, and enjoy the splendors of Box Drop mattress and sofa. You'll see. I'll enjoy it. You can enjoy it too. Considering that we sleep nearly 1/3 of our lives, buying the right mattress is essential. At Box Drop Syracuse Mattress and Sofa Outlet, you'll get a unique experience, one that saves you 30 to 70% off retail prices on top-of-the-line mattresses like Sapphire Sleep. At Box Drop, you'll schedule a mattress fitting appointment and get one-on-one service directly with Paul, the owner. No middleman. Family-owned, huge savings, no-pressure sales designed to save you time and money. And now Box Drop Syracuse has sectional sofas and love seats as well, with prices designed to fit your budget. Box Drop Syracuse Mattress and Sofas. Set up your appointment today at boxdropsyracuse.com. I feel so much more refreshed now. I was having a Peter Brady moment there. I know neither one of you will know what the heck I'm talking about.
No, not at all.
Google it. A Peter Brady moment there with my voice. You'll get it if you know.
When he started going through puberty and his voice started cracking?
And his voice changed, and then they did.
I know who Peter Brady was, and I was trying to think. I was like, what happened with Peter Brady? But yeah, there you go.
Yeah, they came up with the Brady Bunch song, "A Time to Change." Remember, and he cracked.
Yes.
When it's time to change.
When it's time to change.
See, all right. I'm glad you appreciate it.
See, look at that. You totally judged Anthony and said, well, you're not going to know what this is. And Anthony hit you with the old surprise left hook. Isn't that nice?
I was looking at it through Boy Green's eyes. I know he doesn't dabble in that type of stuff. All right, let's talk about the Panthers. There you go.
Oh, there you go. Peter Brady.
Pete back in the day. Yeah, that was probably right around that time.
I grew up watching, I think, what channel was it? I think it was TV Land. In like the 90s and 2000s, and it was all like the nighttime shows were like Happy Days and Brady Bunch and Laverne and Shirley.
Yep, sure, Laverne and Shirley.
So I grew up watching those shows, and my mom being like, "Oh, these shows are the best." So yeah, I'm all about that.
Mork and Mindy.
Oh, Mork and Mindy. Yeah,
I love Robin Williams. Yes, yeah.
Three's Company, all those types of shows.
Yes, a lot of good shows. That was a good time for the sitcom world. That time of the. Back
they don't make them like that anymore.
Yeah, they don't make them like that anymore. That's the old guy comment there. Don't make them like that anymore. So where was I? Let's talk about the Panthers for a moment, Anthony. All right. So you say, hey, we don't want to overlook the Panthers if you're the Buffalo Bills. And I do get that. I understand that. And the Panthers actually, number one, have a few more wins this year. And number two, bring forward a defense that is somewhat imposing. So let's talk about the challenge of the Panthers and what do the Bills have to do to take care of business here against Carolina.
I think it starts with the Bills' defensive side and stopping Carolina's run game. They've come on a little bit in weeks. They struggled a bit against the Jets, which I think is understandable because the Jets have a really good front. But they have the ability to move the ball a little bit. Yeah, there you go. Pump that fist. They have the ability to move the ball a little bit with Hubbard and Dowdle. Ike Ekwonu, I think, is playing good snaps at left tackle. They're a little banged up on that line, but they've got enough serviceable dudes to kind of get some push, get some movement. But that really starts with where they're mainly going to attack. Like, don't let that get going. Make everything have to funnel through Bryce Young and make Bryce Young beat you. And every once in a while, he's shown some of that Alabama Bryce Young, but he's still kind of very much in the inconsistent phase with more lows than highs. Although, Tet McMillan, I think is really fun. And despite not being a burner, can just turn defenders inside out seemingly at will. And I'm a big Jalen Coker guy. I know like a lot of people are. So they've got some guys who can make some noise on the offensive side of the ball, but defensively, to your point of kind of where you lead with their Derek Brown, they've got two studs. Derek Brown is a stud up front and JC Horn is a stud on the back end. And their back end, even with the additions that they made, I don't think it's like this tremendous group, but bringing in Mike Jackson from Seattle and Trevin Merrick from the Raiders kind of solidified some things on the back end for them. Nick Scorton up front, rookie out of Texas A&M, has given them some good snaps. So I think I don't think they're this overly formidable team, but I think they've got some dudes. I think they have a recipe that gets them wins. And you just got to not let that recipe get, kind of cooking and kind of let them get into flow and phase. And it'll be interesting because some of the things they do on both sides of the ball are some of the things that the Bills don't do well. And so it'll be about mitigating that and kind of maximizing the opposites.
And Anthony, it looks like from earlier this week, there's going to be a quarterback change for the Panthers with Bryce Young unlikely to play, which means Andy Dalton in. And I'm curious, do Bills fans still have a warm place in their heart for Andy Dalton because the 17-year playoff drought and Andy Dalton beating that Ravens team then when the Bills were, on the edge of their seat in the locker room needing Andy Dalton magic to help end that playoff drought? Do people still remember that? Or now as Josh Allen's a reigning MVP, they don't remember those poor third world country problems that the Jets are currently dealing with, with being in a massive playoff drought? Do they remember that at all? Does that have a warm place for anybody?
Oh, absolutely. Anytime Andy Dalton's on the radar, it's always like Bills legend, Andy Dalton. Even with this week, with the news of like, earlier in the week, it was like, is Young going to play? Is he not? And everybody was already on board with like, oh, if it's not Bryce Young, it's Bills legend, Andy Dalton. There's definitely still a soft spot for him and a sincere appreciation for him. That was a momentous moment for this franchise and getting him kind of off the schneid. And yeah, it's definitely, I don't think Andy Dalton will ever be forgotten, especially by this generation of Bills fans. That was, it's so funny. Sports are just so funny and stupid sometimes with just how guys become reverent for other fan bases for the smallest of things. And that game means nothing to Bengals fans. It killed Ravens fans because it cost them the playoffs. But yeah, he'll be forever a Buffalo icon.
That's very, very true. Hey, so look, we're going to talk about it a lot next week, but I do think it's worthy of at least a little bit of discussion this week, and that is, I know they have to get past the Panthers, but there is this game in 2 weeks against, their nemesis. And I just wonder, from a Bills perspective, what should the level of importance on that game be? Win, lose, or draw. Again, it's always wonderful to beat your nemesis in the regular season, but where you're really looking to do it is later on. And yet, sometimes the regular season, matchup can have some sort of meaning maybe going forward into that, what will hopefully be a postseason matchup. So let's just talk about that and how the Bills fans and how the team should be perceiving that game that's going to happen in 2 weeks.
I think it'll hold more significance because of the Bills' recent struggles. And so I think that game is, one, it's important to get a victory against a conference opponent, especially one that is your nemesis and one that you think you'll probably be competing with for playoff seeding in some way, shape, or form. But then also, coming off these losses, if you beat Carolina, no one's really going to be like, oh, the Bills are back. But if you beat Kansas City, oh, the Bills might be back. And if you lose to Kansas City, it's more like, oh, they faced another good team and they can't beat the good team again. Look what happened. So I do think it holds a little more significance for this Bills team than in years past. Overall, or not years past, I should say. I think that maybe that it did a couple weeks ago. Overall, I don't think it holds this huge weight. I think it holds logistical meaning more than anything. They've beaten Kansas City in the regular season a bunch, and they've come close to beating them in the playoffs. They know they can hang with this team. They know they've beaten them in the regular season. They know they've come close in the playoffs. I don't think for either way. I don't think for Bills fans, if they beat Kansas City, it changes everything. I don't think it changes much for the Bills if they beat Kansas City. Everything's going to come down to the playoffs between these two teams. And that's similarly where my head is at. I want them to beat Kansas City just because it's a win against a conference opponent and it's a good team. And I'd like to get a win against a good team, but I don't think it's a huge statement maker of you know what? And they could blow them out 40-0. And I wouldn't be like, you know what? Yes, this is the year. It's going to be different this year because playoff football is just different, especially against the Chiefs. So they got to show it when it matters most.
Yeah, and you've seen it. I've seen it. Kansas City's been on national television quite a bit. Mahomes, he looks a little better this year. He looks a little, maybe it's the health. The guy's always dangerous. I would never say the guy to me is the best quarterback, or, he's 1A. I mean, he's there every single year, regardless of what the numbers say. But we know a few years ago, especially for people in the world of fantasy, what he did.
Oh my God.
And he has completely and utterly tamed from that. As a matter of fact, you had people last year, myself included, who had him on their fantasy teams going, is he even worthy of starting this week? I mean, is there anybody else who's on the wire? This year, that's not the case. He's up there, fantasy points. I think he's QB1 right now in fantasy. Not that fantasy means anything to reality, but just a real quickie on what you see from Mahomes that's different this year than maybe last year or even the year before.
I think the deep ball is starting to come back into play a little bit, and that's even before Rashee Rice started to come back into the fold. I think as they've gotten healthier at the position, they've obviously gotten better, and I say that not because it's so revelatory, but because I feel like that was forgotten for a lot of people. Like, they were losing to start out, and they were losing close games, but everybody's like, oh yeah, they're done, this and that. And I was like, they're missing a ton of like important guys. Like, we can't write them off until we see that. And him being able to find Thornton deep, even when he hasn't connected, they've still gone back to that well and they've hit it. So you're starting to get more explosives, not from just a yards after catch standpoint, but from a push the ball vertical down the field standpoint. And that was, you talked about it when the Chiefs were at their most dangerous. It was Mahomes throwing bombs to Tyreek Hill and Mecole Hardman down the field. And then he was working with Kelsey underneath and doing everything there, but they were just vertical and down the field and then could dice you up. And then they were kind of on the forefront of, all these defenses are starting to use too high structures and cap everything. We're going to change and go more Andy Reid, true West Coast, and we're just going to attack you horizontally and kill you 6 to 7 yards at a time. And they got comfortable with that. And they obviously continue to go to Super Bowls with that. But now they can do that. They can still do some of the yards after catch stuff, but now they've got more of a downfield presence and they're getting more of a vertical push. And the offensive line kind of stabilizing itself a little bit and then kind of not. But it's nice when you have, two anchors on the inside with Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith, who are two all pros at their position. And I think they're really starting to kind of put things together from how they can attack you overall. And if they can start to like run the ball more consistently, then everything gets really scary. Cause that's the one area where it's like, they're still not like a great running team. And if they can get that, then it becomes a nightmare to deal with them in any way, shape, or form.
All right. Anthony Prohaska, always good talking to you. Next week will be a big one as they take on the Kansas City Chiefs, but an important one this week, regardless of the records, and that is the Carolina Panthers on Sunday. Anthony, we'll talk to you again next week, my friend.
Thanks for having me. Enjoy your week.